Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. Let me begin by saying what a joy it is just to be with you here this morning, just to be in this combined energy of what we share with each other. I always want to remind you that the power within you is really all that you or I will ever need. Just a matter of being in contact with this power and allow it to be directive for us. Two little announcements this morning. First of all, if you're able to join us tonight, we welcome you to the New Earth with Eckhart Tolle from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And then also, today's teaching is important. It can be your next step when you're ready to make it. Let's begin. My dear friends, it's been a great joy for me personally to have shared with you the teachings of the past two Sundays, wherein we focused on the two pillars of our spiritual vision, namely, that we are created, first of all, for the purpose of well-being, and then secondly, that our identity is love. Purpose, well-being, identity, love. And then the 5 tactics of concretely manifesting this vision, from being devoted to this love to learning to develop our own spiritual standards of fitting into the world. What becomes evident to us is that the vision that we have been sharing and the tactics involved, not only will they help us to continue to develop our upward spiral, but they will bring us that joyful presence of the ascension within us. And it is precisely this joyful expression of the upward spiral of the ascension energy within us that I would like to address in today's teaching entitled, I am in service to my soul. I am in service to my soul. I will begin by sharing with you how I came to this teaching, then address the notion of retirement, but not simply in a worldly fashion, and then concretely address how that we can be in service to our soul. This will be a very joyful teaching, but also one that will take us to new depths as well as new heights. Note-taking is suggested. Let's begin. Recently, I was reading a book that I did not think was too imaginative. In fact, I was moving through it rather quickly when all of a sudden I came across a line, and that line struck me deeply. Then I knew why I was reading that book. The line, these words, were very powerful to me. The words that came to me made me put down the book and immediately look to that deeper place within me. These were the words, I am in service to my soul. I am in service to my soul. What struck me about the words was that for much of my life, I was in service to my personality self. Perhaps you have been the same. Although we had taken time to develop our spirituality, there was still a sense in me that it was more serving my personality self rather than my soul self. Let me explain this a little more. Just like you, when I was developing my spirituality, it seemed to have a lot more to do with dealing with my personality self, developing a better personality self. And little by little, my personality self was truly profiting from my spiritual growth. Perhaps the same with you. Our thoughts were better. Our emotions were calmer. And our physical health had a little more bounce to it. But I clearly saw that my service was much more profiting my personality self. And I quickly felt the importance of a new focus when these words hit me. I am in service to my soul. Oh, yes, probably just like you. I was very pleased with the positive effects of my spirituality on my personality self. But these words, I am in service to my soul, were saying something quite different to me. So I began to focus on these words. I am in service to my soul. And as I did so, these are the thoughts that came to me. What is it that your soul is asking you, inviting you, waiting for you to do now? Let me repeat the question as I addressed it to myself. What is it that your soul is asking you, inviting you, waiting for you to do now? This was a very important question for me to answer. Because I had done some soul searching in the past, it was rather easy for me to be able to go within. But I needed the question to be asked. I needed the question to be asked. What is it that your soul is asking you to do? And specifically, what is your soul asking you to do now? I found it quite easy, quite frankly, to answer the question. But again, I needed the question to be asked. What am I doing, in a sense, now in service to my soul? Beyond simply the personality self. This question is not so difficult to answer, but it does take time. It takes time to do some soul searching. And here is a way that you might go about it. Ask yourself this question. What is it within you that you would be disappointed in yourself if you did not accomplish it in this lifetime? It's a good question for us. What is it that you would be disappointed in yourself if you did not accomplish it in this lifetime? What is it that remains in you to be accomplished? What is it that your soul is guiding you to do now? What is it that you are ready for now? This is such an important question for us to consider because it is your spiritual pathway forward. As you answer this question, you will be developing, setting your spiritual pathway forward. Please move beyond the complacency of your personality development and ask yourself, what is my soul asking me to do? How can I be of service to my soul? As I answered this question for myself, I truly found my spirituality beginning to expand to another level. I feel that perhaps many of you have noticed something a little different about me. There is a little more of that something, a little more of that something that comes from the fact that I am now in service to my soul. In fact, as I was experiencing this spiritual elevation, I recalled the beautiful words of Teilhard de Chardin. Among all of the wonderful teachings he has given us, such as, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but rather we are spiritual beings having a human experience, the following quote is my favorite passage. Here are the words. Someday, after mastering the wind, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for a second time in the history of the world, man will have discovered fire. Yes, I'm going to say them again. Someday, after mastering the wind, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for a second time in the history of the world, man will have discovered fire. I felt these words burning within me as I discerned what it is that my soul is asking of me now. These words sparked me as I responded to being in service to my soul. I feel that these words will have a similar effect upon you as you take the time to examine your soul's direction and come to know that it is your soul that will be guiding your future. You'll be able to discern that soul guidance, which you would really be disappointed in if you did not be able to experience it in this lifetime of yours. Now, Vince, you might be saying to yourself, what does this have to do with retirement? Let me give you my take on the matter. Let's start where it all began, in a sense, where we were kids. In fact, there are two things that occurred when we were children. The first one was a question. It's a question that we were often asked, and perhaps maybe you often asked the question to others. The question was, what do you want to be when you grow up? A seemingly innocent question, but it squarely set us out to find our niche in the world, so that the great preponderance of our life was pretty much externally oriented. Where will you find your place to fit into the world? The focus was always outside of you. Where will you go to school? What kind of work will you do? Will you get married? Will you have kids? Where will you live? What kind of lifestyle will you adopt? The soul had little chance of expressing itself. It was well tucked in to a remote place on the back burner. The second occurrence. All of us were raised in the game of separation. While we strove to be good people, the game of separation kept us in smaller, isolated boxes. It's not that we weren't kind, and certainly we tried to be wise, but the fears and the worries that life brought to us often kept us in a me first, my family first mode. We took refuge in our littleness, always concerned about trying to keep our heads above water. And who could blame us with all of the vicissitudes of life as we played the game of separation? The soul could not budge, couldn't budge from its place on the back burner until so many of us began to move away from that game of separation and began our spiritual journey. Many of us then began to experience a word that began to make the first movement of the soul to come off the back burner. That word was bridge builder. We began to experience ourselves in two ways. We first of all stopped the game of separation, slowly at first, but then more quickly as our energy speeded up. And then we began to realign. We began to realign with our spirituality. And as we align more and more with our spirituality, we were able to build the bridge. We were able to build the bridge, the span of which carried us from the game of separation to the new vitality of alignment. And not only did we build this new age bridge, but we in fact crossed over it. We crossed over the span. And this crossing greatly loosened the soul's place off the back burner. But yet a problem remained. As I mentioned previously, our initial successes in alignment was the feeling of our personality self, a freeing of the personality self from the clutches of fear, doubt, and worry. In fact, it still feels good to be free from our old past. But now it's not just that we're free from the old past, but now we are free for. We are free for a happy, productive, and may I say, prolific future. And then a very important thought came into our experience. This thought had to do with the word retirement. And it affected us in two ways. First, while many of us in now creations are retired from work, we realized that retirement from work did not mean retirement from life. And this became the difference for those of us who are continuing to grow spiritually. The retirement from work obligations gave more time for our souls to come from that back burner into the forefront of our lives. Would you not say that's true? The soul has come from that back burner into the forefront of our lives. This movement of the soul from the back burner to the forefront of our lives had three dramatic effects. The first one, because we had ended the game of separation with its emphasis on the fears of life, our personality self were no longer the sole beneficiaries of our spiritual advancement. I'm going to say that again. Our personality self was no longer the sole beneficiary of our spiritual advancement. Yes, of course, we continue to enjoy the pleasures of our personality growth, but now, we also began to experience the satisfaction within our souls. Wow, quite an advancement. The satisfaction within our souls. There was something within our souls. It was so satisfying. As we continue to experience the soul satisfaction, the second point became even more prominent. We clearly realized that our souls had so much more to give, so much more love to give, so much more love, not just for our family and friends, but for everyone. And our souls became hooked, not only on love, but also on oneness. And And we had so much more internal spiritual energy to extend whatever we might be experiencing, from going to the supermarket to be in our spiritual study groups, to be able to bring this loving oneness into fruition. We had learned the lesson that soul satisfaction far exceeds personality satisfaction. Let me say it again. We had learned the lesson that soul satisfaction far exceeds personality satisfaction. I'm going to say it again. Soul satisfaction far exceeds personality satisfaction. Yes, I'm going to say it one more time. Soul satisfaction far exceeds personality satisfaction. Then it dawned us with even greater clarity. While we might retire from a job, we never retire from life, because life is an ongoing creation. Thus, whether we are still working at a job or are retired from a job, we continue to be the creators of our future. We continue to be the creators of our future. Thus, when you see the word retirement, you understand that it kind of fits in not just to work life, but rather into the future of your soul. We have not retired from life, but now we are in service, not just to the world, but in service to our soul. Retirement is an old third dimensional concept that holds little meaning for us who are in a fifth dimensional soul awareness. Once you have moved the soul from the back burner into the forefront of your life. That's what's happening to us. The soul is now more and more in the forefront of our lives, whether we work or not, whether working or not. We're never retired from life, which is now being guided by our soul. Which brings us back to our first question, and then I will add a second question that invites us to be even more elevated as we progress. Here again is the first question. What is my soul inviting me to accomplish now? Listen to the question again. What is my soul inviting me to do now? To answer that question, you will have to become still. You will have to quiet yourself. We are not talking about what your personality self is asking you to do, nor are we talking about what the world is asking you to do. We are inviting you to listen to your soul. And as I have done this over the past several weeks, I have come to realize my next step, as you will yours. I suggest that you do sit down for half an hour with that yellow pad and pen, and don't get up, at least for half an hour, to move into the depths of your soul and ask yourself, what is my soul asking me to do? I invite you to take the time to answer this spiritual question. Do not be satisfied just by asking, what should I be doing? Be specific. Ask yourself, what is my soul inviting me to do now? Thus, whether your life situation will be with your soul or with anything else in life, you're going to find that whatever that life situation is going to be, it will be your soul that is guiding you. Please take the time. It'll be so well worth your effort. You are setting for yourself the pathway of your spiritual future. Now, the second question. It's best to ask when the first question has been answered. So after you have answered that first question of what your soul is asking you to achieve, you will be ready for the second question. Who was my soul in service to? That's the second question. Who is my soul in service to? As you answer this question, who is my soul in service to? You will then find that this power behind your soul will enable you to be of service to your soul in the grandest manner possible. For eventually you will see that the direction of your soul is now in service to the greater direction of the God Spirit. So that you will clearly see that what you are doing here and now is what the God Spirit is doing here and now as you. Do you understand that? When you say, who is my soul in service to? You realize that the answer of that God Spirit within you, knowing that your soul is already knowing what it is in service to, will then enable you to understand that you become the God Spirit right here, right now. Is this not our goal, our joy, our happiness, to consciously be the God Spirit here and now? It all starts with you asking yourself the question, what is my soul inviting me to do now? This is such an important question for us to ask. And then when we've done so, to ask that second one, who is my soul in service to? This will take time. Well worth it. In conclusion, I am strongly encourage you to take that time to ascertain your soul's direction and then be of service to it. As you do so, you will feel that you have lit the fire of life within you for a second time. That fire will have been lit within you a second time. And as we do so together, our blaze of love is no less than the second coming of the Christ. That's the truth. Let's be up to it. Let me now take you into meditation, and what a joy it is to do so. Let's begin as we normally do by simply focusing on the breath. Just breathing in and breathing out. Allow that breath of yours to settle you. Let it settle your mind and settle your body, and let it allow it to bring you to the fore. Please begin. And would you say to yourself, well, here I am. Here I am. Here I am. This is me. This is my soul. You might want to put your hand over your sternum and be clear that when you say, this is me, it really is your soul. It's not the mind of your personality self. It's the soul of your spiritual self. Just take a moment to move into your soul. Spend another minute to discern the difference between your mind's personality self and your soul's spiritual self. Be clear. Let's get a little head start on your homework. With your attention on your soul, get out of your mind. Get out of your mind. With your attention on your soul. Would you now ask yourself the question, what is my soul inviting me to achieve? What is in my soul that is now ready to come forward? Your past is of no value here. What is my soul inviting me to achieve? Take your time. What is it that you would be disappointed in your present lifetime if you came to the completion of it without accomplishing it? And then would you ask yourself the companion question: Who is my soul in service to? Who is my soul in service to? Do you not see how these two questions are setting your pathway forward? You are laying down your spiritual path. This is what you've been waiting for. In fact, you're the one you've been waiting for. Now, just before we end this meditation, would you notice how enthusiastic you are right now? How happy you are? How filled with love you are? How you want to simply express the love of God as an extension of the divine itself, teaching only love. It's the answering of these two questions that is eliciting this response within you. Just notice how good you feel. And may you keep on so feeling. In the happiness of your energy, let me invite you to return back to the rhythm of your breathing. Nice, easy breathing, but in the energy of joy, in the energy of joy. Knowing what you're ready to embark upon. And then just gently opening your eyes. It will not be hard to smile at this time. Happy, joyful. I am an eternal being of light and love. Thus, only good can come to me, and only good can come from me. And we are eternal beings of light and love. Thus, only good can come to us, and only good can come from us. Namaste.